We are back. It's kind of becoming our thing. It's lunchtime chats with Sabline. I wanted to say thank you for everyone who are watching the videos and liking and sharing, because in this case, sharing is actually caring. So thank you for those of you who have liked and shared. I appreciate it. Today, we are going to dive into a topic that actually started all of this. Like, it's so odd to think that one thing could really change your life so much. And it is. And it is actually Gretchen Rubin's Happiness Project. It is one of those books that, it's such a cliche, it changed my life. But it did. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, and I'm going to tell you why I feel a happiness project is so important if you're feeling lost and confused and just trying to figure out who you are. At least why it was for me. And because I remember going out with a girlfriend, and I told her, all right, I'm trying to give it all away too fast. Let's start back at the beginning. 2017, this is a long time ago. I completely remember it was a cold night. It was in the winter, and I had a new baby. She was our third. There was so much going on. I had 3 kids under the age of 6, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for me it really was. I had a company that I was running and growing, and I was working a lot of hours, and I remember just feeling deflated. I was working so hard to make sure everyone else was happy, and I knew what they needed to be happy, but I had no clue what I wanted and what I needed. And it was one of those realizations where you're like, I'm done. I am at the end of my rope. I can't do anymore. Like, I have this beautiful life. Like, I'm not complaining about my life. My life was beautiful. It was perfect. I had 3 healthy kids. I had a career that I absolutely loved, a company that I enjoyed going into every day. I loved my teammates. You know, it just, something was missing. And I realized at that point, I didn't know what it was. And that's why the Happiness Project was the perfect kickoff. I had just at that point came across the Happiness Project. She had kind of a similar intro, and I'm like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Because at this point, I realized I didn't even know what made me happy anymore. Like, can you think of, like, I didn't have any hobbies. I barely hung out with friends. Like, I didn't watch TV at night because I wouldn't work, or I was with the kids. Like, I had completely lost myself within finding myself. But I had lost who I was between becoming a business owner and a mother. And that happens sometimes when you're so focused on taking care of everyone else in a company. And so I spent 2018 right at the beginning. So this happened 2017, and it was a perfect segue because it happened at the end of the year, right into 2018. And I said, 2018, I'm going to dedicate the year to the word happiness. And so I tried Gretchen Rubin's schedule. I love it. She gives it to you for free. What a wonderful author. She gives you her step-by-step workbook schedule. If you haven't read her book, I encourage you to read it. For me, it was amazing. I love that it's step by step because it gave me the how-to. She gave a checklist, but it became overwhelming for myself because I was trying to juggle the kids and the work. But what I was able to pull away from it was a few key things that propelled me through the changes that I was going to make. And like I said, that one book changed my life. And so I was able to ground myself. I was able to deorganize, that's not a word, to organize, declutter, that's what I meant to say. I was able to organize and declutter, and that was a huge impact. I still remember that feeling of clearing out the playroom and being like, oh, my shoulder. And then I did it to the kitchen and to the bedroom, and I got the husband involved, and like, it was one of those days where I walked around. It was easier to clean. I wasn't stressed about putting things away. I mean, it was like the foundation of like, oh, it was amazing. I also learned that I was like, who am I? And there was one sentence. It's one sentence in this whole entire book. But what did you do when you were a kid that made you happy? And I realized I used to love to read. And that was my thing. But I no longer read for fun. I read for business. I read for research and development. I read for personal growth. But I never, ever read for fun. And so I brought that back into my life. And so slowly I started making these simple little tiny changes. And I linked the article of 11 ways to increase your happiness. And I do agree with each one of those 11 points. And I think it's really fun to kind of like pick and choose to see which one's going to help increase your happiness. And that year was a fun year. I got to know myself again. I was reintroduced to myself and to this amazing person that I am, that I had lost with taking care of these babies and these companies. And I really feel it's important that we have a good sense of what makes us happy, because what I realized from that project was I wanted to dig deeper. And when I dug deeper, I went into my authenticity project. And then this year it's my love project. And I had a girlfriend, and I had known that this was kind of going to be my, like, 2018 was happiness, 19 was authenticity, 20 was love. And she and I were talking about it, and she's like, don't you feel like you should have done authenticity before you had done happiness? And for me, I had completely and totally had lost myself so much. I don't think I would have had the strength or the stamina to take on such a hard onion of a project of your personal authenticity, because it's taken me 2 years to really get to the core of it. And it has been one heck of a ride for these last 2 years. And I will be coming out with an article later on about where I am with my love project. But it's an onion. And there's been a lot of tears, a lot of self-realizations, a lot of like, I feel good for the first time in over 2.5 years since I've started this whole growth project. Like, I am feeling amazing. But it wasn't without the foundation of the happiness to give me that little bit of hope, that little bit of like, oh my gosh, I deserve this. There's more than just reading a book or having an organized house. Like, I am bigger than this, and you're bigger than this. And that was why I truly believe, if you're feeling lost, if you don't know where you want to go, if you are just kind of feeling in a funk, starting a happiness project could be what propels you to figuring out what your next step is. It could be that seed that leads you to being like, I'm worth more, because you are worth more. We're all worth more. And it is so true across the board that what we have inside us, people around us deserve to see it. And it takes strength, and it takes dedication, and within that comes from the happiness, the values, the goals, the authenticity. All of that kind of builds on top of it. So that, my friends, is why I feel you need to have a happiness project, if that's what's calling to you. It has been one heck of a ride for me. I still think back to where I would have been without my authenticity. That was 2019. I'll dive into that too. But the happiness, it really is what started for me to sit here right now. Because believe it or not, public speaking was something I hated. Putting my face out is not something that I like to do. I told you I have that company. Well, I run it with my brother, and he's the face of the company. I am very happy standing right behind him and doing the work, because that just was never my thing. But the more I started diving into it, I realized it's not that scary. I want my voice to be heard. I want to share what I have learned in hopes that you too realize how special you are, that you too have a voice, that you too deserve to be happy and joyful and loved. And that is why I'm here. It's for you. So on that note, I'm going to say, please give me a like. Come join us on our email list. So every Friday you can get this tidbit, as well as what I'm crushing on in terms of products and articles and videos and books. So give us a like, give us a subscribe.